easier as time goes on. Also take speaking opportunities when you can, right? So if there's opportunities, again, in community groups, in your schools, wherever, to get up in front of people and speak. It's a very difficult skill at first, so I really recommend practicing it, because you know, it's a skill that will be very, very useful to you in the future. Right. Yeah, I was going to highlight just some things that are going on in our communities already, right? So there's obviously a lot of opportunities these days to try and highlight innovative ideas that you might have. Governments, multilaterals, the UN tend to organize things like this is just an innovation challenge, but you can look it up and explore it a bit further. It's one of many, right? Another one here is close to where I am in Uzbekistan, sponsored by the UN, where they're encouraging you know, young people to get involved in activities and nature-oriented activities. Just search online for these types of things. I wanted to, and only if we have enough time, it looks like we've just got enough time to show a little video from closer to home about a woman from a place where I've traveled personally a couple of times in Tibet, and her personal story. It's about 4 to 5 minutes long. So anyway, Alvin, if the sound doesn't come through, again, just send me a message, okay? But let me start playing this now, and I hope you like it. If I can find the play button. There we go. Oops, I think I paused it there. Hang on. I've got to start it again. Yes, let me find the plane. There we go. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me through that. I just like that real story. I saw it recently through a friend, and yeah, obviously Tibet is a region that depends very much on glacier water for their water supply, and climate change is really impacting it very heavily. And so, it's one of these frontier areas where climate is very close to home, and young people going out and trying to identify the scale of that challenge is quite inspiring to me. We've only got a minute or two left of resources, and obviously I'll share the slides with you after the session. But just to give you a sense of what you can do yourself from home, connect with some of these international networks that work on climate, whether it's through universities or NGOs. These are just two examples. Go and check out their website and get in touch. There's also a lot of resources online these days for online learning. You can take often free short courses that can be done from home. And then again, whether you're not a fan of reading long reports like the IPCC ones, maybe listen to a podcast or find some good resources on YouTube to sort of upskill yourself. And ultimately, if you're super motivated and want to get deeply into this space, try to become a youth delegate to a COP if you can. The Conference of Parties of the UN on climate change are fascinating activities to be a part of if you haven't been to one already. They have their pitfalls. They can be quite frustrating and challenging to experience, but because it's such a crucial part of how the international community is going about addressing climate change, it is a worthwhile experience ultimately, I think, in helping you understand and develop in this space. Again, you can look in more detail at this once I share the slides, but I'll stop there and we can start getting into some conversation. So thanks. Back to you, Alvin.
Thank you so much for that, Hugh. This has been a truly great presentation. I believe that everybody has gotten a lot of food for thought, actual pathways for career exploration within the climate space. I understand that there are some questions coming in. Also, comments are in the YouTube live stream. I will just take a moment to read out a few of those questions. We get your responses, and this resource, the presentation, will be shared with participants to engage with. I have a question coming in. And yes, for those who are joining and have just listened into the conversation, today's presentation, feel free to share in the chat your thoughts, your reflections on Hugh's presentation. The first question I have here is that how can climate innovation be made more accessible to rural communities, especially smallholder farmers who lack resources and technology? I also have a second one. Would you want to take them one at a time, or you would want them in a lump sum?
How about we take a couple at a time? That way we can get through more, perhaps.
Okay, thank you for that. And the second question is, what climate innovations are showing the most measurable impact in reducing emissions or building resilience?
Yeah, okay, great. Well, let me take those two because there's already quite a lot there. So on the first one, it's a super important question, obviously, because as we all know, right, the communities that are most affected by climate change are often the ones with the least resources. And we need to find ways to address that. And, you know, in some parts of the world, well, ideally in all parts of the world, government has a role to play, but in some parts of the world, government either doesn't have the capacity or, you know, or the preparedness to fill that gap. And that's where, you know, community needs to step up through NGOs that are mission focused in this area. So there are a lot of good ones out there that do work in rural areas. So the woman that I just highlighted in that video, her work is supported by an environmental protection association in the province where she is in the Tibetan Plateau. And you know, there are others in other parts of the world. I think it depends very much on where you are and how we're well resourced. But it's not just up to NGOs and community either, right? So there is also a role for development-focused financing institutions in this space. And some are doing, again, better or worse jobs than others. But obviously institutions like, in my region, the Asian Development Bank, their equivalent in Africa, the World Bank as well. Increasingly, China has a role to play in this space, although my take on that so far is that a lot of Chinese financing in the climate environment space so far has been focused on very big projects rather than smaller scale ones that can have a real big impact at the community level. So that's a real challenge at the moment, is trying to convince the financing institutions that have money that can help communities to put it in places where it will have most impact to those communities, not just from a sort of macro perspective. So it's not necessarily a perfect answer to your question, but there are efforts going on and we need to improve them. And then the last question about what innovations are out there and happening. Your question had two parts to it, right? First in helping us deal with climate change, and then on resilience. So obviously on the mitigation side of things, there's a huge amount of really important work happening. Again, a lot of it driven from where I am at the moment in terms of driving the cost of clean technologies down very, very quickly. And so Increasingly, those solutions that 5, 10 years ago seemed very expensive, like solar panels and wind turbines, are now much, much cheaper and able to be deployed at scale across much of Africa, South Asia, Southeast Asia, much, much quicker than they were in the past. So that is happening now, and very, very quickly. Of course, we need more than solar panels. The next step is to get the cost of storage technologies down. So we need to have that same dynamic that's happened with solar and wind in the last 5 to 10 years happen now with batteries. That innovation and that crucial tipping point, I think, is not far off, where batteries really start to dive in cost. That solves a lot of our problems, especially in rural and smaller communities, where you can have decentralized solutions that mean that you don't need to build out an electricity grid to to an entire country or entire continent. You can develop more specific solutions to communities. The benefit of that, of course, is that you're also a bit more energy secure than you are when you're relying on centralized large installations for power provision. So if you have a community that's interlinked with solar panels and batteries, much less likely that you're going to go offline if your power line goes down to the power station. So there are a bunch of benefits to that kind of energy solution. On the resilience side of things, we're far behind where we are on the mitigation side of things, right? So you see communities in the Himalayas that have their ice melt disappearing. You see areas of desert adjacent communities in Africa, South Asia, elsewhere, that are dealing with desertification that is impacting on their planning of crops and their food security. Huge challenges, and there just isn't the amount of resources being applied to that there needs to be. That said, there is increasingly a lot of knowledge about solutions that work. We need resources. We also need knowledge sharing. Just as an anecdote, an interesting experience I had when I came to China early on, we were in Western China, an area that was suffering from desertification, looking at how a government program had worked differently in different communities to regrassify a desertified area. And you could stand on one hill and see 3 different provinces. One province had no success with sort of dealing with their desertification. Another had moderate, and another was very successful. And they were all within several kilometers of each other and all had funding from the same grant program. But the lessons hadn't been shared, kilometers apart. And so you had resources there, but not being used efficiently. So we need both of those things to happen now, and that needs to happen at scale, obviously. Okay, I won't go on more about that, Alvin, but are there any more questions?
Yes, we actually have a couple, but we'll share one with you, and the rest will be shared as a written resource, and then your response will also be shared with members of this training platform. So the next question is a minute. There was a question on, let me find it. Yes, how can youth-led climate solutions attract funding, partnerships, and support from organizations or government?
Yeah. So
can I add one more?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. How can a young person without financial resources or advanced training actively contribute to climate change research and action?
Sure. So on the first question about accessing resources, the first thing is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel on this, right? You're not the first. If you have a group in your area and you want to get some funding, you're not the first to do that, right? So the first suggestion would be to connect with these networks of organizations that are out there and ask them for advice, because there will be different financing channels in different parts of the world, right? Different countries and different regions. So go and look up the climate NGO networks that are there, right? So the Climate Action Network, for example, and let them know who you are, where you are, what the work is that you want to do, and ask for them for advice. There's a lot of resources out there for that. And then I think the second question was, how does an individual have impact when they're sort of was it from a rural area, Alvin? I think that was the question, right? Yeah, in
Yes, the question was simply looking at the available opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, this is going to be very location specific, right? As an individual, you have these sort of inspiring stories of people that do things like the woman in Tibet that we just saw in the video, that just sort of take action into their own hands and start measuring what's happening in their own environment, and then use that as a tool to attract attention to the problem, right? So that's one way of doing it. And while some types of science can be quite resource intensive, like, for example, she was using infrared cameras, for example, to track the movements of snow leopards, these very endangered animals in her area. They're expensive, and you're going to need some funding support for that. Other things are less expensive, right? So water testing kits that can have a really huge impact on understanding the health impacts of climate changes for your community. That's a bit more possible. But again, to do more sophisticated stuff, and I would encourage you to set your ambitions high, the best thing is to start getting involved in groups and communities and asking for what resources are available in your area. It's going to be quite location specific, but yeah, look up the NGOs that are in your area. Find what resources are available online. If there's not an established group in your area, just let people know that you're around, who you are, and what it is that you want to do. There will be people that can help.
Thank you so much for that, Hugh. This has really been an insightful session, and the remaining questions will be shared with you, and your responses will be shared back with participants of the Climate Skills for Youth program. We know that it's quite late in China, but you took time off your sleep schedule to join us here, and we really do appreciate it. For participants, the resource will be made available so you can access the presentation slides together with the videos. And if you have further questions, you can still populate the Google form, which will still be shared with you. Any final remark, reflections from you?
Just again, thanks to you and the organizers for setting this up, and to everyone for, I guess, the motivation, passion, and interest to get involved in this space. We need more energy. We need more, smarts. We need people that care. So thanks very much.
Thank you so much, and it's been great having you. For participants, we are reminding you that the attendance link is in the chat, so you can fill it out to indicate your presence in today's call. If you also have any questions, feel free to share in the Google form, and it will be attempted accordingly. We have our second presentation coming up in a moment, and I would introduce our facilitator for the session. I also want to add that the platforms mentioned by Hugh, for instance, the UNFCCC, POPs, younger engagement, they are key for young people working around and within climate interventions. In a moment, you would have in the WhatsApp channel a form shared from the African Group of Climate Negotiators. They are conducting a youth consultation ahead of SB64, which is the subsidiary bodies that leads to the COPs each year. So once that is shared in the chat for African youth, feel free to make your voice loud, clear, and heard. Our second facilitator is stranger to the Climate Skills for Youth program. He is the distinguished founder and executive director of the all-encompassing global concept, serving on several high-level positions and contributing to youth development across the continent. He is in the person of Ambassador Daniel, and with a resounding applause, let's welcome him and be ready for his presentation as well. Daniel, over to you. So while we wait for him to come on and share with us his presentation on entrepreneurship and innovation, I just want to share a reminder that it is important that you stay through to the end of today's session. We have announcements concerning the certificate disbursement, the final assessment, as well as the graduation ceremony. These will be shared at the latter part of this training session, so do well to stay through to the end. And it's been great having all of you on the call, sharing your questions, your concerns, and being actively engaged in our discussions. We look forward to exploring the next steps with you, but let's stay tuned for Ambassador Daniel's presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Alvin, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good day to everyone. Yes, welcome to session 3 of the Climate Skills for Youth Program 2026. Today, we will be discussing climate entrepreneurship and innovation. Our focus today is very important because climate action is not only about talking about problems, it is also about building solutions. Throughout this session, we will learn how young people can move from ideas to real impact. We will also discuss how to identify climate opportunities, how to structure solutions, how to create value, and how to build initiatives that can create real change in communities. This session is designed to help you begin thinking like a climate innovators, solution builders, and execution-driven leaders. I want everyone here to stay active and engaged because this session will be interactive. By the end of today, you should begin to see climate problems differently, not only as challenges, but also as opportunities to create impact. We start with an introductory video to the progress we have made so far with the Climate Skills for Youth Program 2026. Happy watching.
The future belongs to those who lead, not those who wait. Across the globe, young innovators are rising, turning climate awareness into bold action. The Climate Skills for Youth Program 2026 has empowered over 8,800 applicants from diverse backgrounds to become leaders, communicators, and entrepreneurs for a sustainable tomorrow. This journey began with understanding climate science and leadership as interconnected challenges. Then participants mastered storytelling and strategic communication to inspire change. Finally, they embraced entrepreneurship and innovation, transforming ideas into real-world solutions. Powered by all-encompassing Global Consult Limited, the Talent Incubation Hub, and the Coalition for a Brighter Earth, Climate Skills for Youth Program, CSYP, 2026 is more than a program, it's a movement. An ecosystem designed to nurture talent, spark innovation, and build measurable impact. To every participant, your leadership matters. Your ideas can drive global change. Join the Talent Incubation Hub and continue this journey of growth, opportunity, and transformation. Together, we turn climate challenges into climate solutions. The future is in your hands.
Excellent. Thank you very much to the team. So let's begin with an important mindset shift. Climate change is not only a crisis. Yes, climate change is serious. Yes, communities are suffering. Yes, there are floods, droughts, pollution, heat waves, and environmental damages here and there. But climate change is also an opportunity space, an innovation space, and a leadership space. So let me ask everyone a question. When you hear the word climate change, what comes to your mind first? Problem or opportunity? Let's use the comment section and put in our responses. And also we can use the emojis. For problems, thumbs up, and for opportunities, thumbs down. Very good, very good, very good, very good. The reality is this: the world already knows there is a climate problem. No doubt, we know this is the reality of the world we live in. The bigger question now is who will build the solutions? And that is where you come in. Young people are not just expected to complain about the problems. Young people must begin to design the solutions that matches this problem. This is the focus of today's session. Across the climate space, problems are known. Like I mentioned earlier on, the data already exists. The funding opportunity also exists. The previous speaker spoke to this quite a lot. But there is still a major problem. The gap is weak execution, poor structure, and ideas do not scale. Many people have ideas, but not everybody knows how to turn ideas into structured solutions. Let me explain this simply. Someone may say, I want to reproduce plastic waste. This is a good idea. Of course, everybody applauds that. But the question begins, how exactly? For who? What process are you going to use? What is the impact you're targeting? And is it sustainable and can it actually grow? This is why structure also matters. So, another interactive question here. Why do you think some good ideas fail, especially when we're speaking to climate and climate actions and solutions that comes with it? Please, let's use the comment section and let's have responses. Excellent, excellent. Most ideas fail because the problem is not clearly understood, the solution is not practical, or execution is weak. The gap is not ideas. There's a lot of ideas out there. The gap is structured innovation. I want everyone here to understand their role, your role clearly. You're not just here to learn climate facts, to just talk about it, to have these wonderful sessions and presentations, but you are here to identify real problems and real opportunities, design those solutions that matches those problems, and build impact. That's the reason why we're here. That's the reason for the Climate Skills for Youth Program 2026. That means when you see a climate problem in your local environment, in your own vicinity, your mind should begin to ask questions. What can be done about this? What exactly can I do as an individual? What can I do within my community? What can I do with my group of friends that are like-minded to solve this problem? Not who will solve it. Not this is the problem of the government, but it is more about how can I contribute to solving these problems. This mindset is very, very important. Climate leadership is not passive, it is active. We'll have, a way to get some of these responses. Eventually after this whole program, we'll send out communications to the participants of this year's program in the coming months, so that we can understand the problems you've been able to identify and the possible solutions that you're seeing that would solve those problems. and I'm sure communications will go out to every single participant, at the end of the program. But again, let's get on to another interactive section where I'm going to ask everyone to think about one climate issue in your environment right now. It may be connected to flooding, it may be connected to waste disposal, it may be connected to air pollution, it may be connected to deforestation, it may be connected to poor drainage system in your community, it may be connected to water shortage, it may also be connected to excessive heat. So let's ask ourselves this question: what solution can I, as an individual, provide, or what can I improve on in terms of, the current situation? What solution can improve this situation, and how can I be the bearer of this? Because that then becomes the beginning of climate entrepreneurship. That then becomes the beginning of you not only concerned about what is happening around the world in terms of climate issues, but also you now being invested in making these solutions or creating solutions. And that is when we start talking about climate entrepreneurship. You have, a couple of youth-led businesses that, we have seen across the globe, that are doing well. It starts with one or two persons coming together, wanting to make a change. And at this very point, we're happy to, share, I think, a couple of examples, testimonials that we've seen so far. And this is just, it's not a promotional video. It is just to inspire everyone listening that the solution lies in your hands. You just need to take that step and start little. Thank you. Happy watching.
Waste in Africa is not waste, but African waste. Waste in Africa, waste in Lagos, waste in Abuja, waste in Kano, and waste in Anambra is not waste until Nigerians waste. We at CSYP Africa, we can see an Africa where we don't have to find recyclables such as plastic nylons or even heavy metals littered across our landfills and our waterways, because an average sub-Saharan African or Nigerian is able to see both the economic and environmental value from sustainable recycling and waste management. My name is David, and I'm the founder of CSYP Africa. And at CSYP Africa, we have been able to build this future of sustainable waste management and recycling, driven by a youthful team that are inspired by the circular economy and are implementing world-class technology for sustainability and recycling waste management. We have been able to effectively implement software technology and also an offline waste management agency network that's effectively able to collect recyclable materials from household, businesses, communities, and reward them for cash incentive. Is AI powered, tech driven, and skill. We have also deployed offline an agency network of waste collectors who are effectively available to scale, collect, move, and maintain our network and chain of waste collection. We've been able to scale waste collection operations by implementing technology for waste collection, establish waste banks in communities, onboard youths and women into our network by empowering them as waste collectors, and effectively run a chain of waste collection. So far, CSYP Africa has been able to recycle over 200,000 kilogram of materials, onboarded over 150 plus agents, which are mainly youths and women. We've also been able to reduce over 500 metric tons of CO2 and also empower over 200,000 MSMEs and homes through our recycling waste collection technology. In also scaling our activities, we've been able to successfully implement, in partnership with Green Up Africa, the Clean Water Africa project, where we're able to collect recycling materials in over 20 schools in Abuja, Nigeria. We've also been able to partner with universities across Nigeria for driving climate action and waste management awareness. In implementing our solution, we were recognized for our impact by Channels Television, Flame TV, Radio Nigeria, Iowa Television, Moment Show, the Kano State Government, Barry University Kano Center for Gender Studies and Climate Change, and as well African Climate Forum. We've also been able to gain international recognitions by Nobelum Canada, United Nations WSA, and Brainpreneur 1.0. Our solution has also won some local awards, such as the Wema Bank Hackaholics 5.0 Northern Regionals and also 6.0 Northern semi-finals. CycleX Africa doesn't believe in solo impact, so we believe in the power of collaboration and partnerships. We've been able to partner with Triple R Recycling Limited, Natural Recycling Limited, Scrollinger Technology Limited, Cyrus X Energy, Green Hub Africa Foundation, The Hand of Global Limited, Number Microfinance Bank, Waste 360 Limited, Apollo Innovation Hub, Innovate Lab, Shyborn by Sterling. As also, we've been able to also expand our clientele and service with Chenja Tea Recycling Limited, Natural Recycling Limited, Triple R Recycling Limited, Waste 360 Limited, Intco Recycling China. Our team is very robust and dynamic. We have over 4 decades of experience combined as myself, the CEO and founder, Suluzom David, a tech professional and expert, with our Chief Financial Officer and Director, Miss Emily Aleburu, who is an over 20 years experience as bank branch manager, and our Chief Operations Officer, Engineer Abdul Ganyu, and our Chief Legal Officer, Barrister Noble. We are a youth-driven climate tech company, and we believe in the power of inclusivity and gender inclusiveness. We are aware of the huge market possibility and potential for waste management in Africa, which Nigeria itself holds over $2 billion in value for the waste management market, and Africa also is currently estimated over $20.6 billion in the African waste management market size. We are aware of the huge market potential, with Nigeria alone having over a $2 billion market size for waste management, but CycleX Africa is targeting about a 0.25% of this market in the next 3 years. We are currently projecting to recycle over 100 tons of materials in Lagos, Abuja, Kano, Port Harcourt, and Anambra in the next 3 years. We are also pushing to empower over 10,000 youths and women in these communities, create green jobs in the circular economy space, and also we engineer the mindset of an average sub-Saharan African or Nigerian that waste in Africa is not waste until Africans waste. We believe that the awareness for climate change and recycling plays a huge difference in our impact. We hope to be able to achieve this with your contribution and your partnerships as well. CycleX Africa is not just a recycling company. We are a movement of young, vibrant and intelligent minds who believe that problems can be turned into solutions and local technology can solve global problems. I will wrap this up with our saying in CycleX Africa, which says nyama nyama na money. So trade your trash for cash today at CycleX Africa. Thank you very much.
They are going to use a series.
So that was an excellent compilation of the work that had been done by CycleX Africa, and it's a testament to everything we're speaking to today. This is a bunch of young people that had come together to create something out of a problem, a very big and huge solution. It started with a handful number of young, bright minds that had seen that, yes, it's enough complaining about these problems. We can then step in to prefer a solution. We see this happening. Look at the journey end to end. Look at the recognition that they have so far from local partners, international partners, developmental organization. But yes, just imagine the opposite side to this. If they decide to just sit on those solutions, they think, okay, this is too big, it's bigger than us. They won't be able to get to where they've gotten to. So yeah, let's look at the next slide, please. So we also have Chido Upcycling, which is another young bright mind that we spot. We just seen what they've been able to do when it comes to teaching people how to use what ordinarily would have been a nuisance. In this case, this is used tires that are used for furniture making, that are reused for something super, super good. Let's look at the next slide, please. Right, and this is still Chido Upcycling. So this just gives an idea of what you can do within your immediate community. So yes, climate opportunities exist in many sectors, as we already know. So we're looking at the renewable energy, which includes the solar energy, clean cooking, electricity alternatives, and also a different sector, waste and circular economy, which we've seen a video on just now, which includes the recycling, of course, converting waste into useful products, waste collection systems, and yet again, a different sector, agriculture and food system. We've seen opportunities around climate smart farming, irrigation systems, food preservation solutions. These are things that are required in the world of now. And if you look at it very closely, if you have a passion about it, as a previous speaker rightly said, you investigate, you carry out the necessary research, you can see that some of the solutions are actually within your reach. And by the time you start something, you would have a lot of people or institutions, organizations that would also join hands with you. Again, we don't want to wait for in some countries we won't encourage, okay, you rely solely on the leadership of the nation when lies with you. Another sector, we look at the water systems, which include clean water access, flood control, water conservation. Another sector as well, climate tech and data. This includes climate apps, which is connected to the video that we've seen just now, weather systems, digital tools. All of these things are very handy in terms of being within your reach. The urban resilience aspect is also one part, which you can think about: better city planning, drainage systems, transportation and improvement. And this is, those that have gone to school and is connected to what you studied in school. The important lesson here is every climate problem is a potential opportunity. So I want us to also look at this question and think. We might put the comments, we might use the comment section. We might just think to ourselves, which climate sector interests me as an individual the most and why? Because all of these then would, tie into what we're passionate about and what we want to invest our time doing and what we may end up, spending the rest of our life invested in. Let's look at the next slide. So one of the biggest mistakes innovators also make is trying to solve unclear problems. Strong solutions begins with clarity. So it's important that we have full clarity of the space that we want to get into before building anything at all. We want to ask specific questions as to what is the exact problem, who is affected, and why does it matter? Why do I want to be invested in this? If these questions are not clear, the solution may actually fail. For example, imagine building a solar product nobody can afford. Then what then happens is it would just be for a very small portion of the market, when in the actual sense, it should be a product that should be affordable and should have a massive reach. Even if the product is good, adoption may fail. And the reason for this is because the problem to solution fit is very weak. So I want everyone to also think about a climate issue in your area and ask yourself some of these questions as to who suffers from this problem the most. Once you're able to understand those that suffer from this problem the most, then they become, if you're looking to step into those solutions, then they become your target markets. And the clearer you understand the problem, the stronger your solution then becomes. So let's discuss the value proposition around some of this opportunity. Very, very simple. A value proposition explains why people should care about your solution. Why should somebody stop? Why should somebody bring out money from their pockets to be part of the solution that you're putting on the table? A strong climate solution must be clear, like I said earlier on, must be relevant, must be practical, and the impact must be visible. It must be impact driven. So, for example, we want to reduce pollution. That sounds like, you know, quote and unquote, that sounds like something that is too broad. And people would just be like, okay, you want to reduce pollution. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to do it? But if you position it in a way that we convert we convert plastic waste into affordable building materials while creating jobs, you know, an investor will want to listen to you. That catches somebody's attention. They know that you are very specific as to what you want to get into, and the difference is very, very clear. The second option is way clearer and more practical and very, very easy to also understand. So yes, I think we would combine some of the interactive sessions that I have here. We'll combine that at the end of the program as well. But I want those that might be super interested in climate solution to also maybe at the comment section, or when we send out the communication, you might want to think about how you are able to describe one climate solution idea that comes to mind just in one sentence. And you know, if you want to put on the comment section, that will be collated eventually, and one of the resource material that will be going out, that will be flagged there. So if you want to volunteer, you can describe one climate solution idea that comes to mind just in one sentence. Next slide, please. So we also know that many people have ideas, you know, but of course the young ones, the brain, you know, works in a mysterious way. Ideas flows through, but ideas are not just enough. The ideas must move through stages. It must come through stage one, the concept, which is the initial ideation stage. Stage two, the validation. Does the problem truly exist? And what you can do with this is, you know, ask questions. That means your friends. Ask questions. That means your local community. Do a targeted survey to those that, you know, are affected by the problem that you are looking to solve. Then you move on to the next stage, which is the design. Then you refine those solutions based on, you know, some of the comments, some of the feedback that you've been able to gather from, you know, those that are impacted with the problem that you're looking to fix. And then you then move on to, of course, having some sort of prototype, which is the testing of that idea. And then once you've tested the idea, you then move to, of course, the execution stage, which would then mean that you're ready for the implementation and you're implementing those solutions that you have been able to put together. Then, of course, if you're happy with the output, then you then look at, you know, of course, looking to scale, which means expanding the impacts. And with that, that shows that there's a structure. You just don't sleep and wake up and decide to get into something. You've thought it through. You've make sure that you gather data, gather information, and you can see that it's definitely going to be worthwhile before you get it started. So the important lesson here is ideas without structure do not survive. We're saying this, it's only a game of luck, you know, and you will be extremely lucky for this to happen in the world that is moving very, very fast, in the world of changes that we live in as of now. So another interactive question here. You can put the response on the comment section. Why do you think planning is important before launching a solution? I would have refreshed that question as, why do people plan before launching a solution? It is very clear from the structure that we have spoken about just now. And yes, correct? Structure reduces failure. It is proven. I mean, you can literally see the end from the beginning, and that way it's easy for you to be able to, of course, get like-minded people to support your initiative, to support the business that you come up with that is connected to climate and climate issues. Okay, so we also know that climate solutions must be sustainable, which means it must be environmentally sustainable, it must be socially inclusive, and economically viable. In simple words, your solution should not create another problem, because that's what we see in the world of now, because lack of structure would mean that this your intention is to create to provide solution to an existing problem, but if there's no structure, you might end up creating more problems. And also, for example, we might want to look at the recycling business that pollutes rivers. Is not sustainable. You're saying, okay, I'm getting into a recycling business, but you end up polluting the rivers. That's not sustainable, because what you're doing is you're then creating more problems. Climate innovation must solve problems without creating new ones. And it is important that the young ones have this at the back of mind. It's not just, okay, yes, I've been able to find something I'm passionate about. Okay, I'm going to do this. It's bringing me some money. And yes, I'm not going to think about the impact, because in the first place, that sort of mindset is what has led to some of the problems that we currently have that are now inherited. But yes, we don't want to dwell on the problem. We want to make sure that, yes, we're solving those problems without creating new problems. So another interactive question that I have here for the audience is, can you please think of examples where solutions created connected to a climate issue then had resulted in creating new problems? So you can put these responses on the comment section, and we would of course collate some of these responses and publish them at the end of the program. We expect thoughtful responses on here. Please, this is the way we fix the problem that all of us have inherited. Next slide, please. So strong climate solution also combines three important things. We want to look at the science behind it. We want to look at the leadership that is required to sit in the heart of the solution, and we want to make sure that it's communicated correctly. So science helps us understand the problem, the leadership helps us drive execution, then communication helps us to build the necessary support and partnership. We know without science, your solution may lack credibility. Without leadership, execution becomes super weak, and without communication, people may never support your idea. They won't know what it is that you aim at achieving, and you would then lack the necessary support and the necessary partnerships that you ideally should get with solving climate related problems. So let's get on to another interactive question here. Which of these three do you think is hardest for young people? One, science, leadership, or communication? Which of the three? I want to believe that those that have been, of course, on the leadership journey on the Talent Incubation Hub program would be able to then understand the depth of leadership, and that shouldn't be the most difficult, the hardest for young people. But yes, it will be good for us to get your responses, also to understand what you think in terms of, okay, which one as a young person, which one am I going to struggle with? Is it the science behind climate issues and solutions, or is it the leadership that I need in terms of executing those solutions, or am I going to just struggle with the communication side of things? Right. So let's also look at the fact that not all climate solutions are businesses. Not all climate solutions are businesses. Some are ventures, as the previous speaker rightly mentioned. Some are advocacy initiatives. Climate ventures includes products, services, revenue generating models. But when we're talking about advocacy, we're talking about initiatives that includes the awareness and campaigns, policy engagements, community action, etc. But both are equally very, very important. And it's important that both must be structured, both must be clear and impact driven. So I'm going to ask again, which interests you more? Is it the climate business or the climate advocacy? It'll be good to have these responses on the comment section. Which interests you more? You're thinking about the business around climate, or you're thinking about advocacy to solve some of these climate problems? Then we'll move on to the next slide. Yes, of course. I spoke about the Talent Incubation Hub earlier on, and yes, it's a program that is built on three important pillars, which is connected to entrepreneurship. And yes, of course, it's generic. But it helps climate leaders or climate entrepreneurs to be vast, to have structure to everything they're doing. And some of the pillars that we have that is connected, for those that may be interested after the CSYP program, please feel free to put in for the entrepreneurship and startup incubation, which is pillar 3, pillar 6, innovation and research, and the 5th pillar, real world pathways. For those that are very, very close to the Talent Incubation Hub initiative, you know that the initiative is built on 7 clear pillars. But when we're talking about climate and entrepreneurship, these are the 3 pillars that would, seal everything together post the executive leadership development pillar. So together, these pillars help you move from idea to execution. And what does that mean? You are not only learning theory, you are learning how to build practical impact. So yes, next slide. Let's look at the breakdown of the pillars. Like I said, I mentioned earlier on, pillar 3 will help you to identify opportunities, develop ventures, build structured ideas, and the 6th pillar would help you use research data to back what you're doing, work with real-time data, create credible solution, while the 5th pillar will also help you connect learning to action, prepare for implementation, and engage real opportunities. So together, these pillars will help you identify, design, and validate, and also execute those solutions. So yes, it will be good for us to see more uptake when it comes to the Talent Incubation Hub initiative and the program that has been fully sponsored in terms of access to the learning platform. So yes, let's go on to the next slide. Going back to climate action and the climate action concept, one major outcome of this program is your climate action concept. This is your first structured climate initiative. Your project should include the problem, the target audience, proposed solution, value proposition, and expected impact. So this is important to us because yes, real climate leadership requires execution, and we want the youth, we want the young ones to start the little way they can. We want everyone to start thinking about the climate action idea and how you can potentially develop a solution connected to these at the back of the CSYP program 2026. We just don't want it to be a program that everybody comes, we talk, we listen, and there's no action at the back of this. And we can assure you that one of the things we're planning to do is to make sure that these solutions are projected to developmental partners and those that have the capacity at regional level to support those solutions. So please feel free to engage and let us know those problems and the solutions that you've been able to identify and the necessary support that you probably need, and then we'll have that projected to the necessary parties against next year program. So as we close, please remember this: the climate transition needs builders. The climate transition needs innovators. The climate transition needs problem solvers and execution-driven leaders, because the future belongs to people who build solutions, not just people who complain, who block roads and make a whole lot of noise, but no action. The future belongs to those people who can build the solutions to the problems that we've been able to identify connected with climate and climate issues. So don't underestimate your ideas. You may think it's something small. For example, we've seen Cycle X Africa. It started with something small, and they were in just a small room, and they've been able to attain that level of success. And also, don't forget, little drops makes an ocean, as they say. Small ideas, when properly structured, create massive impact. And each and every one that has been part of the climate skill program for 2026, you form a very, very strong force in making sure the world is a much better place for each and every one of us to live in. You are not just a participant of a program just to tick boxes, but you are the future climate innovators. And I want each and everyone to take these as an opportunity to make a change, to build a legacy in the fast changing world that we live in. And yes, on this note, thank you everyone for being part of session 3. And I hope today's session has helped you begin thinking differently about climate action. Please remember, climate entrepreneurship is about moving from idea to impacts. It's not just about talking about the problem and not doing anything connected to solving those problems. So we encourage you to stay engaged, like the previous speaker said, stay within the community, use the power of collaboration and partnership to identify like-minded people, to be able to solve real problems in the world that we live in today. This is a platform that CSYP 2026 has created for each and every one. And yes, of course, this will be continued over the coming years. And of course, continue learning is another thing from us. We want people to be able to develop their capacity so that yes, when they have the opportunity to stand on podiums or have the opportunity to then, for those that are already complaining about inclusivity, the young ones, being included in key discussions, when the opportunity comes, we can make the most of these opportunity. And also start identifying climate opportunities around you. They are there. It's not just about trying to find a job. For those that want to go that path, they just want to get a job, the opportunities are there. They're enormous. For those that want to create those solutions, they want to make a living out of those problems that have been in existence in terms of sustainable solutions, the opportunities are also enormous. And yes, you can then begin to shape a structured solution that will move the world to be a much better place for everyone to live in, irrespective of geographies, irrespective of region, irrespective of where you are. So again, your voice matters. Each and every one of us. For this program, we've had almost 9,000 applicants. Just imagine that volume of people that are, passionate and interested in solving the problems in the world connected to climate and climate issues. That's a big number. And if we can put a unified voice together and create structured solution, then we are already there in terms of the world that we want to live in. And please also remember, your ideas matters. Your ideas matters. This is the world we are going to live in the next coming decades. Your ideas matters, and your execution, there's nothing too small. There's nothing that you should underplay. Your execution also matters. The necessary support that you need in terms of capacity building, etc. The opportunities are there. Please take to these opportunities, and would live we'll see a much better world for each and every one of us. On this very note, I want to say thank you to each and every one for being part of the Climate Skills for Youth Program 2026. A big thank you to the Coalition for a Brighter Earth team, and also the all-encompassing Global Consults Limited team, as well as the Talent Incubation Hub team for making this a success. On these notes, I want to say thank you to each and everyone, and good day, everyone. Over to you, Alvin.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Daniel. It has truly been a really inspiring presentation. We've had it very interactive and got to understand how entrepreneurship fits into the climate equation. For everyone joining the call, do well to sign on the attendance sheet so that when it gets to the disbursement of the certificates, you are not left out. We have a few announcements that we would want you to take note of with regards to the certificate disbursement and the availability of the assessment that will determine your eligibility for certificate collection. First is that on next week, the 27th of May 2026, we are not having a virtual session such as this one, since the training modules are 3 in number. What we are going to have next week is the assessment. So it would be made available using a simple Google form to collate your responses to the questions that will be asked in the form. It will be opened up for 2 weeks to give you the chance to go back and revisit the training materials, the recordings, to better attempt those questions. Once you're able to meet the agreed on pass mark, you will get access to the certificate. And after that assessment, the next week will be a free week for all of you so that you can rest and put together plans you may have in terms of projects and interventions you would want to explore together. Right afterwards, we would have the graduation, which will take place in the month of June. By the third week of June, I would share the exact date with you in a moment. So do well to note that it would also be shared in the chat so everybody is clearly informed, aware of the ongoing plans and arrangements. So as mentioned, from the 27th of May to the 3rd of June, we are going to have the assessment open for everyone. So you complete the assessment, you'd get the pass mark, and then be eligible for the certificate. On the 10th of May, no session is going to take place to allow for the certificate preparation. And on the 17th of May 2026, we would have our official graduation and outdooring of the Climate Skills for Youth inaugural cohort. Once we are done with the graduation ceremony, we go into better aligning each and every one of you based on those who apply the certificates. Would align you to representatives in your respective regions and countries so that you can coordinate and engage on more practical climate interventions, and would always be available for proposals, for engagements, partnerships, and how we can upscale and support the initiatives you develop together. It's been a great session today, and I just want to invite Daniel again. We have a few questions that came in from participants in the Google form, and I will share two with him, and the remaining, as done for the first facilitator, it will be shared as a written resource. For the previous sessions, the session 1 and session 2, those written resources are ready and also will be shared in advance of the assessment to also guide and better inform.
My bomb. Please help me with that chair. Maybe that'll be more comfortable.
Yes, Daniel, you are currently unmuted. I will share the questions with you in a moment. So the first question, are you ready? Do you want them as a lump sum or as individuals? I see the laughing emojis now coming in.
Apologies.
It's fine.
Yes, please
It's
go
fine.
ahead. Go ahead, Alvin. I think we
Okay.
should have the question one lump sum. Apologies, I didn't know I was
Yes.
not muted. Thank you.
So the first question is, what practical steps can young people take to start a career in climate research and innovation, especially in developing countries like Nigeria? The second question is, what accessible and sustainable innovations can be implemented to mitigate the impacts of climate change in low resource countries? You can take these two questions and then we would add a third one after.
Okay, Alvin, sincere apologies. I think you might have to repeat the very first question. I was trying to change my seat because, yes, my back aches a bit sitting for 2 hours. So, yes, please go ahead.
Sorry about that. So the first question was, what practical steps can young people take to start a career in climate research and innovation, especially in developing countries like Nigeria?
Excellent. So very good question, because I think the answer actually lies in the presentation of today. Yes, we can see the example of Cyclex Africa. We can see what the gentleman has been able to do, from, building technology solutions. Now we are in the age of artificial intelligence. We are also in the age of technology advancement. Some of these problems we can start with either, bringing people together that are co-aligned with the same thing that we're passionate about. We can also start with advocacy. From advocacy, people get to recognize you. They know what you're passionate about. And from there, you would then be able to build an ecosystem that is enabling. One thing that a lot of young people want to think about when thinking about solution is, okay, I don't have the access to funding. I don't have the access to be able to take the first step, but it's just the myth, because that's not correct. What we need to remind everyone is the power of technology. Look at 143 countries are represented as part of the CSYP program 2026. What solution are you looking for that you won't be able to find? It's just for you to be in the right community. It's just for you to be able to put your voice out there, be heard, be known for what you're passionate about, and also be informed that there's a lot of developmental institutions and organizations, that operate in all of these countries, even developed countries, underdeveloped countries, that are also interested. They want to see. You might just be in your own little room, not understanding the kind of progress that people have been able to make because they've taken the first step. start something, being able to figure out what you're passionate about, being able to develop a structure around it, which we've described as part of today's presentation, and also then be ready for the implementation. No matter how little, we should Chido upcycling. It's just tires that people would have just thrown in the gutter, people would have just thrown in the bin,